I thought we would start out with, to sort of introduce the concept of the system, and since I sort of skimped on your bios, the concept of the university system, which is this collection of universities that you guys oversee as chancellors, really grew out of California. But in California, the universities are organized in a sort of very coherent way. The University of California system is sort of what we think of as the Tier 1 universities, then there's the California State University system. Here in Texas, there's a little bit more of a hodgepodge, all sorts of organizations in all sorts of systems. I was wondering if you could each go down the line and just sort of briefly, since there are so many of you, explain, what is the identity of your university system that you represent? And maybe Chancellor Cigarroa, we could start with you.
Well, thank you, Reeve. Well, first of all, when you have 9 academic universities and 6 health science centers and very diverse campuses, it is important to have a system that allows to be able to have a common voice, especially before a legislative appropriations process to see what are common themes that will enhance higher education, not only within our system, but across our other wonderful systems in the state of Texas. I think a system also has an opportunity to be able to utilize the purchasing power of 15 combined campuses. And we've been able to see that on multiple fronts, both on our health campuses and our academic campuses through shared services where one could really, through the purchasing power of the system, have significant cost savings. And every dollar saved is a dollar that can be reinvested back into the mission of our universities and our students and our faculty. The third aspect is when one has a system like the University of Texas system, one can really provide a very strategic use of funds. For example, the STARS funding that the board allocates to be able to utilize, to be able to recruit the very best faculty from around the world. And one of those recent recruits was Bruce Beutler, which ended up becoming a Nobel laureate in the state of Texas. So I think a system has an opportunity to identify opportunities that can enhance education across our great state, and at the same time, be able to utilize the best minds of our campuses to be able to overcome challenges.
Chancellor Hance?
Our Texas Tech system consists of really 2 separate medical schools. We're one, along with the University of Texas, one of 2 out of 8 schools in the nation that have more than 1 medical school. We serve really all the counties as far as medical operations are concerned, west of I-35, have some overlap with University of Texas in a few areas. We also, our undergraduate campuses at Texas Tech and Angelo State have worked closely together. And one of the things that's happened since we've had Angelo State in our system, we were able to use our resources to help them get national security studies that's funded by the Pentagon that I think they would not have gotten. Our big goal is closing the gaps, and we're trying to get more students in. We just got recognized for being one of 4 in the nation that's done the best job of graduating more minority students. And so we're very proud of that, and I'm just saying, closing out, appreciate being here with the other chancellors. I can tell you they all do a great job. We've all tried to do more with less than anyone can imagine. And to the Texas Tribune, I always read you, and I think you do an excellent job. And the other thing, I polled the other chancellors, and we will not be offended next year if you have this during the week. Saturday, we really enjoy being with you, but just during football season, it's a good thing that we had open dates. And Chancellor Sharp's leaving at 3:30 because he's got an emergency that starts at 6 o'clock at College Station. Glad to be here.
Thank you. And Chancellor McCall, of course, in your system, it can be difficult to know which institutions are in the system because they have so many different names.
Well, that's true. We're the oldest system, founded in 1911, based in Austin, Texas, 79,000 students, 15,000 faculty and staff, 8 institutions, 12 campuses. Texas State, Sam Houston, Lamar University, Sul Ross State University, Lamar State College Orange, Lamar State College Port Arthur, and Lamar Institute of Technology. We're spread out over a good portion of the state. growing at a fast clip. If you've seen one university system, you've seen one university system because we're all so very, very different.
Chancellor Sharp, you have been taking on the notion of system identity since you started as chancellor last year, rebranding a lot of the institutions. Why is that important? What is the Texas A&M brand?
Okay. Well, Chancellor Sharp is leaving at 3:30 on account of I got a guy going to give me a big check on Kyle Field right before this game starts. If there is somebody here that has a check bigger than $1 million, I will stay here. But otherwise, I'm leaving at 3:30. The Texas A&M University system is composed of 11 academic universities. We also have branch campuses attached to the flagship university, that being the Maritime Academy in Galveston, Texas A&M Galveston, the engineering school in Qatar. We also have 7 state agencies, and those state agencies are the A&M Extension Service, the A&M Engineering Extension Service, experiment stations, sometimes called, the Forest Service, and all of those are in addition to a health science center. And the health science center is the most diverse, I guess, in the state of Texas, in that it has a medical school, a school of rural public health, a school of pharmacy, a school of nursing, and a medical school. We do those very differently than other folks do. We put our students in hospitals that are already built. But what happens in our system is our Dean of Agriculture, for instance, is also the Vice Chancellor for Agriculture. So if we have something that the federal government needs done and it doesn't want to go through sometimes a slow process within a university, we do it at the system. The same with the Dean of Engineering, who is also the Vice Chancellor for Engineering and also the Dean of Engineering at the flagship. A good example is the BARDA contract, or the contract that we just won from the federal government having to do with vaccines. Would never have made it had it gone through a university. It had to be in a system, had to be fast-moving, decisions had to be made pretty fast and things like that. And so we're moving our medical part back into the university for some what we think are very good reasons. And so it's not like we just have to have folks in the system. We put them where we think they do the most good, but it's an interesting and very diverse part of what being a land-grant system and a land-grant university is about.
Chancellor Couture, could you tell us a little bit?
Thank you, Reeve. I'm Renu Couture, and Chancellor of University of Houston System. In our system, we have 67,000 students. There are 4 independent universities and 5 other teaching locations. One of the distinct features, I'll first talk operationally, and then I'll come to the strategic differentiation, and that is that for the University of Houston system, there is no system office. There is no separate chancellor. There are no vice chancellors, so I wear 2 hats, chancellor and also the president of the University of Houston. You can see women can do anything, so I can do double duty here. And in terms of some other very distinct advantages for the university, our 4 universities, University of Houston, Victoria, it has qualified for it, has not received yet federal designation, but once it does, which will come this year, we will be the only system of higher education in the United States of America with a Hispanic serving designation. There are 53 systems of higher education in America, and all our institutions would have Hispanic serving institution designation as well as Asian American serving institution designation. In our system, is great differentiation in terms of mission. However, Houston, what differentiates us as Houston is the 4th largest city in the United States, the energy capital of the world, the Texas Medical Center, the largest medical center in the world. There's a NASA and there's a port, so there's a huge economy. We know 31% of Texas's economy is in Houston, and 2 of our institutions are located right in the heart of Houston. UH Victoria is farthest away. Nonetheless, they also serve the greater Houston region in a very important way. They are the destination university in the system and provided very important option and choice. Together, for the University of Houston system, student success is not only our #1 priority, it is our no excuse priority. So at this point in time, with the University of Houston main campus classifying as 7th ranked in the nation for graduating students with the least amount of debt at the time of graduation, I can tell you that within the system, we have a Carnegie designated Tier 1 university, a university that provides very affordable education, and a university that is Hispanic serving as well as Asian American serving institution. UH Downtown is also minority serving institution. So we take a lot of pride in our mission and success of our students.
Chancellor Jackson?
No other state could have this gathering on a platform because no other state is organized this way. Texas has 6 systems and 4 independent universities because the needs of the state are so diverse and complex. The Dallas-Fort Worth area is 34% of the state's population and job growth, and our system, the University of North Texas system, is the youngest in the state, but it exists because of the growth and the needs of Dallas-Fort Worth. So we have the state's 4th largest campus in Denton, the University of North Texas, with over 35,000 students. We have a brand new campus on 265 acres in southern Dallas County where there is no 4-year public university, the University of North Texas at Dallas, and a rapidly growing medical school in Fort Worth with 5 different colleges, including now pharmacy. We've started a law school because Dallas-Fort Worth was, until John Sharp's recent press conference announcement, the largest metropolitan area in the nation without a public law school, making legal education accessible to a diverse population. We're proud of the growth of our campuses. They do reflect the growth in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. 2 of our campuses are research-focused, but also very, very undergraduate-focused, and we think we've added more degrees in the last decade than any other because of, again, our enrollment growth and the growth of the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Well, and I don't know if any of you noticed, I'm going to direct this at Chancellor Hance, but anyone can feel free to jump in. 4 of the 6 chancellors are politicians or have a long history in politics. Chancellor Couture came up through a very storied career in academia. Chancellor Figueroa is a surgeon, noted medical doctor. But the other 4 of you came up through the world of politics. Why are so many of our chancellors of our university systems politicians?
Well, I think, first of all, you got your wordage there probably needs corrected. That there's 4 statesmen rather than politicians. That we're ready I just want to clarify that. I think the other 3 would agree with me. You understand the legislative process. Now, I was a professor back in the 70s, and so I'd been involved in academia before I came back as chancellor. But to understand the legislative process as a chancellor, I think certainly gives you an insight on what's happening on day-to-day legislation, and also what you need to be doing to comply with the wishes of the governor, lieutenant governor, speaker, and all the members of the legislature. And there are other schools doing this. My friend Hank Brown served as president of the University of Colorado system. Senator Bourne is president at OU. So we're not unique in that regard, but we do have a lot that have that background.
Chancellor McCall, you want to add something?
Well, there are a lot of complementary aspects to both jobs. I now go to the office every day and try to stamp out ignorance. And in my previous job, some would say I was a party to it. But there is a lot of advantage in knowing these things. And systems will cycle in and out of needing or wanting someone in politics. Bill Hobby was chancellor of the University of Houston system. And Reeve Couture holds her own, thank you very much, very well in the halls of the Capitol. And no one is better than Francisco Figueroa in the state capitol. My goal as chancellor at the end of my term, years and years and years from now, is when the board decides to get a new chancellor, they may not even think about having a politician.
Chancellor Sharp, did you have something you wanted to add?
Well, I would just say if being a politician is awful poor training for being a chancellor, I can assure you all 6 of these are politicians. I thought I knew something about politics until I got in a university setting. That was kindergarten. This is really serious stuff. But I think one of the reasons is because fundraising is a big part of it. I mean, let's face it, and whether that has to do with the legislature or whether it has to do with the guy meeting in Kyle Field, whatever. All of us have to be a part of that, and politicians seem to have to do that quite a bit, and it's part of the fit, I think. But the politics in the university is way, way different from what we're used to.
Well, and Chancellor Jackson, speaking of knowledge of the legislative process and funding and fundraising, when the legislative session comes up next year, and you guys all go to the legislature and are looking for, I imagine, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but increased funding, if not at least steady funding. Do you go as a unified group, or do you have to sort of every chancellor for him or herself?
You mean what's sometimes called the crabs in the bucket approach to teamwork, where you simply try to pull everyone else back to make sure that no one gets ahead? We have been accused of that. I want to go back and answer your prior question, though, about why there are people with a public background. You know, if it was so successful, some might ask, gentlemen, why we four statesmen have presided over a decade in which state support on a per-student basis has steadily declined. They might think that our boards were looking in the wrong direction, but the fact is that managing large university enterprises has gone through an evolution, just like hospitals, which all used to be headed by medical doctors, and there weren't professional hospital administrators. Law firms, large law firms, didn't used to have managers. The partners themselves ran all the business side, but I spend my time a little differently than some. There is a lot of back office, and these are increasingly the areas the state is asking us about. How many FTEs do you have devoted to running your IT systems? Do you have 3 purchasing directors, 3 payroll systems? Why aren't more of your computer operations shared? These aren't specialties of any academic discipline, they're management. And so if you have that approach and that background, in addition to the legislative background, I think it fits more into the job of what we do. Now, Renew's situation is a little different in actually running a campus and a system, but the system level responsibilities are largely support services, legal, audit, construction, budgeting, IT, payroll, purchasing, and I think our backgrounds reflect more the nature of that job. So what was your other question?
Do you guys, do you go to the legislature as a group or as individual systems?
We cooperate with the coordinating board on a lot of issues, and then every 2 years we cooperate and coordinate with the legislature. There are issues such as the formula, which provides most of the operating money that flows to our public universities and medical schools. And I've had leaders come from other states into our system who hear about Texas politics, and they assume that it must be highly political and chaotic. And I don't know if you've had this same experience, but they are impressed with the Texas operating formulas. The fact that most of the regular biennial support is driven to our university budgets through a 17-variable matrix that actually calculates, not perfectly, but somewhat closely, the difference in cost between an upper division engineering course and a freshman English course, and flows the money, and it doesn't take a vote of a committee to do it. The formula is in place. A lot of states don't have that. A lot of states don't have anything like the tuition revenue bond process, where every 5, 6, it's now been 7 years, the state looks at facilities. Some states literally don't do anything for college campus facilities unless there is some sort of a political tug-of-war. And a governor candidate promises it or a bond election is passed. Our legislature and state officials have done it fairly regularly. So we cooperate on those things for sure, every time they're under discussion.
Well, and you're mentioning the formulas. Obviously, as Chancellor Sharp mentioned, there's talk of having institutions like we haven't seen before, which are combined research universities and medical institutions. The UT Austin is trying to build a medical school. You are considering combining your health institution. Maybe Chancellor Couture, as a system without a medical institution, how concerned are you that this could throw the formulas out of whack? And how do you make that fair? I'm
intrigued by your previous question also.
Okay.
And I'd like to answer a little bit of that, because you asked the 4 of my great colleagues here, but did not ask the 2 of us. So I think that's unfair. So let me just answer that. Because, you know, leadership in higher education really is about connecting public and private expectations to the productivity of the talent, and leading toward a common mission, and that is, we know what that is in terms of what our product is. So it's not really so much about what particular skill set you bring to the table as much as it is what kind of team you develop, and can you give a vision? Can you invoke passion behind that vision? And can you really lead your group to a place where they didn't think possible before? So I think you could bring whatever skill sets, and you have to add then the remaining skill sets that you need. And I consider my 4 great politician colleagues also part of my team, because I have great admiration for them. I call them, and I ask them for advice. And so now, coming to your question about not having a medical school. Well, you know, you can see glass as a half full, or you can see glass as a half empty. You know, people say that 2 things can bring you down, you know, jocks and docs, you know. So we have jocks, we have athletic group. We do not have a medical, institution to run. But we have 3 great medical schools in our proximity. We have Baylor College of Medicine, we have UTMB, we have UT Health Sciences. So the question is what kind of partnership synergies we can build. And we have enormous number of research partnerships together. We have recruited faculty together. We have built programs, academic programs together. We have also developed programs for students together. So for instance, we have program almost, some done already with Baylor College of Medicine to direct admission out of high school so that they can directly go to medical school. We program in terms of nursing and public health with UTMB, UT Health Sciences for students, because we can't put system or an institution or a chancellor at the center of all of this discussion. We have to put a student at the center of it and see what is it that's in the best interest of this student. And if we stick to that, I think all of these other things become, quite trivial.
And moving over to Chancellor Cigarroa, who maybe you could also talk about, why you think that UT Austin should have a medical school as part of it, as opposed to part of its system. And then I have another question for you after that.
Well, first, I just want to comment that we are a great team. We've got statesmen, and we've got Renew with a tremendous academic background, and even this team needs a surgeon to be able to deal with cuts every now and then. So it's perfect. I would say that for almost a decade, our Board of Regents has been determining what are the synergistic opportunities to be able to actually establish a School of Medicine within the University of Texas at Austin. We strongly feel, for a variety of reasons, that this could really benefit first the health of many citizens in Central Texas. So always health comes first. But when you take a look at what could position the University of Texas at Austin as really one of the very top, if not the top, public university in America, what it's lacking, and I think John Sharp is also looking at this as well, is how can a medical school enhance the educational opportunities and the biomedical research of a flagship campus? We feel that those opportunities are immense, and in fact, perhaps immeasurable. First of all, to be able to actually connect the biosciences with the physical sciences. It is my strong opinion that the greatest innovation, the greatest discoveries that are going to benefit mankind are going to be in that interface between the biosciences and the physical sciences. So imagine being able to bring in a School of Medicine with faculty interacting with our engineers in a terrific College of Engineering in America here at UT Austin. Imagine being able to actually bring our physicians and scientists to be able to work with, whether it be the law school or whether it be the School of Natural Sciences. There are so many opportunities of collaboration that the greatest discoveries in the future are going to require team science and a team effort. And the way that you can really catalyze that is by actually establishing a School of Medicine within a flagship such as University of Texas at Austin. Not to mention how those discoveries can then more quickly be translated through commercialization to the benefit of mankind. So we see so many synergies that I think it's worth every effort to continue to move the ball in that direction.
Chancellor Sharp, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'd like to say, and I'm trying to be humble, but I would like to point out that A&M is the #1 research university in the state of Texas. Let me tell you what I think we all can agree on. We would like to see formula funding restored to previous levels. That's one thing we all agree on. We have differences in some other things we may spar on, we'll argue about and try to do the right thing and may end up taking our individual things to the legislature. But here's what we need to realize. The landscape for universities has changed in that granite building over there. I mean, there's no Frank Irwins around anymore. Funding is unquestioned and things like that. And we've got to go to the next session of the legislature, look at the freshman class, respect what the voters have said, whether you agree with it or not, and go to the next session of the legislature and say, look, we are the most efficient place you can possibly invest your money. Now, what I think the folks on the Seven Solutions folks did wrong is they tried to attack the reason that flagships, the reason that all these universities are there, and that is research and education. Instead of trying to find money in all the stuff that supports research and education and saving that money and putting it in what really makes a great university and a great university system, and that is research and education. And that's what we're trying to do. We, quite frankly, view the recession as our friend almost, because we, for instance, go in and we privatized our food service over great angst. We privatized our building maintenance and all that. But that produced $260 million and $45 million cash. Of that, we're putting back into a $100 million research fund to recruit people from California, Michigan, and places like that that are going to be great researchers, and to pay their $300,000 salaries when they come. And so all of that is going back in there. And what we have to show those folks in the legislature is that we get it. Because when I was controller, when I was the legislature, I'm telling you, a big part of the legislature thought, well, we're the most arrogant people on the planet. And you can't be the most arrogant people on the planet anymore, especially in a recession or depression or whatever you call this thing. You've got to recognize that. And all of a sudden, Bubba out there is thinking about outputs. We're thinking about inputs when we go to the coordinating board or when we go to U.S. News and World Report, what our faculty-student ratio is. What Bubba wants to know is, how many of these kids get jobs? What do they get paid? Are you producing young men and women that get hired? Are you producing life-changing research and things like that? And if we change the attitude or the perception of universities toward that, then we're going to be in great shape, and the public is going to see it, and they're going to start funding it again.
Well, and the Seven Solutions, for those of you who don't know, were this set of controversial higher education reforms. I'm sure some people have already tweeted about that. But a lot of it was focused on accountability and efficiency, and a lot of you have implemented your own approaches to accountability and efficiency at your universities. One thing, Chancellor Cigarroa, I wanted to ask you about is, I don't know if you read The Statesman, but there was this story about salaries at the UT system being on the rise at the same time that we're trying to sort of do more with less on the university level. Is there a sort of do as I say, not as I do attitude in the systems? And what should resources be put more towards universities rather than the system offices?
Well, that's exactly what we're doing. If you take a look in 2009, at UT System Administration, there were 820 FTEs. And if you take a look at it now, there are about 620 FTEs. So we've cut FTEs by nearly 25%. What we've done is we've also basically added significant new roles and responsibilities among current executive officers. And with that did come some increases in compensation to address that. But when you also take a look at what all of us are doing is we are strategically reinvesting in areas that can basically enhance revenue for the benefit of all our campuses. If we grow in areas such as shared services, such that we can basically take on more responsibilities and save dollars on our campuses, essentially at the end of the day, the strategic investments being made, the areas of growth in regards to information technology, in regards to blended and online learning, in regards to shared services, in regards to cybersecurity, in regards to the fact that the next decade is not going to be about so much bricks and mortar, but it's about, do we have adequate, high-performance computing power? These are very complicated issues that one needs to address. And at the end of the day, we're going to be enhancing excellence across the UT system. If you just take, for example, just yesterday, MD Anderson, despite that these areas are investing strategically in several moonshots to try to significantly diminish the morbidity and mortality of cancer. That has required some significant reorganization at MD Anderson, including reductions in force, but at the same time, very strategic investments to eradicate and make cancer history. If you take a look at, again, the incentives that we're providing, that's resulted in 2 $10,000 degrees already, both at Arlington and at Permian Basin. If you take a look at an investment made in the Institution of Transformational Learning, which of course we did establish that new office at UT System, imagine if we can bring the very best faculty, whether it's from UT System or whether it's from the best universities in America, to our campuses along the border. Imagine how that can enhance success. So these are very strategic management decisions with the one focus of enhancing excellence at our student level and our faculty levels.
And are these enhancements that could not be made without a system office, or could they be made at the university level?
I think in order to be able to really identify shared services and really utilize the purchasing power that a system can do, that can't really be done at a campus level because you can never really get the best pricing from one campus as compared to 15 campuses working together.
Well, and you mentioned $10,000 degrees. I believe not every system has a $10,000 degree in it yet, but there are a number that do. I think Chancellor Hance, the Texas Tech University system has not yet come out with a $10,000 degree. Might we see one in the future, and do you think you'll be able to meet the governor's call last night for a sort of locked-in tuition for 4 years for students?
On the first question, we will roll out our $10,000 degree proposal in San Angelo in the first week of October. It's the only one that will allow 4 years at Angelo State. And one of the things, and I was talking about it with some of the other chancellors earlier, and the public needs to understand this. A $10,000 degree is not going to be the same as a college experience. I learned as much in student government and in other organizations as I did in the classroom. And I think that all of us, that's something that we need to keep in mind. We want to keep that available. But if a student just cannot do that and they don't have the money, then we want them to have this other avenue that would be available. And so we're doing that. Coming back to something that Francisco said, and that this group, we do work closely together on formula funding, and we'll have a few internal things that we'll work on. But we've got two sources for money. We've got the state, we've got the student. And then the third thing, you can make cuts. This session, this biennium, Texas Tech system will have $67 million less. We'll have 1,000 more students. So, we could see it coming, and we've had to make changes. And we used to have 19 students for each faculty member. Now we've got 24. And that hurts us in the ratings. So we dropped a little, and I think all dropped a little, except maybe Houston, coming in the ones that were rated in the top 200. And that's one of the problems that we have to address. And that, we're not complaining. The universities have not whined as much as some other groups maybe, but we produce people that produce jobs. Higher education does more to help the state of Texas than any other factor in any other area in state government. So I think that all are doing a good job, and that we've made substantial cuts. And like Chancellor Sharp said, we'd like to get back to formula funding, and that's the goal. That's been the goal of this group, and we do meet fairly regularly. That's been our goal for the last several years.
Well, yeah, you mentioned Houston getting into the U.S. News and World Report rankings for the first time, I believe. How important are the U.S. News and World Report rankings? They seem to be more and more controversial by the year.
Let me just add to what Chancellor Hans said about $10,000 degrees, because you may find the statistics interesting. UH system does have a degree, comes out of Clear Lake. But I went one step further and I asked the question, how many of the students who graduated last year, what percentage of them graduated with having paid $10,000 or less out of pocket, which includes loans, of course. And you know what, for U of H, it was 26% of their students. That is based on all the grants and everything else they got. So it is not that we have a published degree of 10,000. I think that's important too. But nonetheless, I mean, think of the reality. 42% of the students from UH downtown paid less than $10,000 cost, for their 4-year degree. Okay, coming back to the rankings, of course. I'm a political scientist and studied in very quantifying, discipline in terms of, statistical area. That was my subdiscipline. So I understand the rankings. I understand all kinds of regressions, of factor analysis you can use in them. But here is an interesting thing. There's not a single ranking, whether it's in research or undergraduate program or anything, that is flawless. They do measure something. They don't tell you everything, but they do measure something. The way I have been able to use the rankings on our campus is we use them as operationalization of a goal. The abstract the goal, the harder it is for people to really grapple with it and see, okay, what is it that you want me to do? So when we said we will get ranked by US News and World Report, because yes, University of Houston had not even been ranked. So we said we want to be ranked. We sat down, did the analysis, what are different measures, how much distance we have. And the analysis indicated that the area that is hurting us the most is the college completion rate, graduation rate. So we set the goal, the graduation rate needs to go up 6 percentage points if we want to make that 200 list. I won't have any complaint with the faculty. I have no arguments with the faculty because they say we want to be in that particular ranking. Well, we know we have to move 6 percentage points. And I can tell you probably for all other rankings in the same way, how it has helped us to focus, like a razor-sharp focus on what is it that we need to do to get the campus together. And that is something that does make sense. If it didn't make sense, I would probably say, well, that's not something where we want to do. I think college completion or the student success, it helps us in many, many different ways. So in that sense, I'm a fan of rankings because it helps me set a direction and just keep everybody in that direction.
Well, and I mentioned a couple of questions ago, the 4-year tuition freeze that the governor has been calling for. Anyone out there, do you think this is doable? Well, I think UT Dallas does it.
I think what the governor is alluding to is a 4-year fixed tuition, where if you matriculate as a freshman, you're going to pay the same tuition and fees for 4 years. That has worked very well at UT Dallas. UT El Paso also has that option. Interestingly, in UT El Paso, where many, many students are working 2 jobs at the same time, where their 4-year graduation rate is below 20%, not because they're not doing a great job, it's just 80% of the students are having to do 2 or 3 jobs at the same time, and so their 6-year graduation rate is significantly higher. For those students, more students at UTEP are actually opting for or are not kind of gravitating toward a 4-year fixed tuition. It's just the student demographics are different. For UT Dallas, it's worked extremely well. I think one has to be careful to make sure that one size doesn't fit all. I do believe that a 4-year fixed tuition ought to be an option for all our campuses. At the end of the day, I think the students need to determine what is their best option for themselves and for the families. So I think it's a great idea. It just there needs to be flexibility to address student needs.
Well, and before we turn this over to audience Q&A, I was just wondering if we could go down the line. Obviously, you have each system is sort of a different geographic location. Some are spread out more than others. But I was just wondering, maybe we could start with Chancellor Sharp and work our way that way and back around. Is there an institution in the state that if you had your druthers, you would add to the Texas A&M system that's currently not a part of it?
Yeah.
Could you,
but I
which
have
one?
resistance. That I would add? You mean like from these guys?
Or the 4 independent?
Well, we're reasonably happy right now. I mean, we have a new law school that we're getting accredited right now. At the same time we did that, we moved our medical school out of the system into the university, which is pretty much what the University of Texas is doing with their medical school here. If I had one druther, one thing that I'd like to do, and that is I would like to expand the extension service. The extension service, we're in every county. We have an office in 250 of 254 counties. And the extension service is basically teachers that take the research out of Texas A&M system and take it into agriculture. In other words, they take corn research or drought research, whatever it is, or animals, whatever it is, and instead of going through Monsanto or going through all of these agriculture companies, it will go straight into the farmers. And so you may have an extension agent that's meeting with 600 farmers in a county, telling them how to grow corn. I think there's a different use for that extension service, and it's this. We also have a lot of research at our place in the medical center, all over the state of Texas, that has to do with medicine, particularly in engineering and in our health science centers. And I think there is another use for those offices. And I think that one day, I think that you're going to be in one county and you're going to have someone taking the research from agriculture, and there's going to be 600 farmers over there, and you're showing them how the latest and greatest agriculture stuff is. And in the other end of the county, you're going to have someone from that same office teaching 600 mothers how to raise their children, what the nutrition are, what are the things that you just are finding out about research that if you don't do it that way, then you'd have to let it go through Pfizer and then to your doctor and through the American Medical Association and stuff like that. And so one of the things that we're looking at with the federal government and with the current administration and others is how to use that same infrastructure, not only to teach folks how to grow healthy crops, healthy animals, but to take the research that's in abundance, it takes years to get out into the field, and take that straight to mothers and show them how to raise their kids, or how to take care of yourself when you're pregnant, and do things for your family that you may not hear about for 4 years as it goes through the medical process, and we want to take that directly to them.
All right. Chancellor McCall?
Within the past year, a nationally syndicated columnist wrote a story that was picked up in newspapers all over the United States, the headline being, "Forget Harvard, Think Lamar." And she made a compelling case as to why parents and students should think about going to Lamar University instead of Harvard. The administration at Lamar University wanted to print bumper stickers and signs to put on the highways that said, "Forget Harvard, Think Lamar." And I resisted that because I thought it would make it that much harder to bring Harvard into our system. So to answer your question, if I could pick one school in Texas to bring into our system, it would be Baylor. I've talked to Buddy Jones, who's a lobbyist and the chairman of the board of Baylor, about hiring him to get that done, and so far he hasn't returned the call as a follow-up.
Chancellor Hance?
We always have great ambitions. You know, I hadn't thought about it at length, but I'd love to have the UT and A&M system under us. We'd be willing to do that. I think it'd be great. We always look at options, and so you know that's not number one priority for us, but we'd look.
We'll just keep going around.
Reeve, I've got my plate full. And, you know, really focused on, you know, the framework for advancing excellence across the UT system. Focus on establishing a medical school here to be a part of UT Austin, expanding medical education, graduate medical education, and developing South Texas as an educational ecosystem. I think I'm up 24 hours a day. I'm pretty busy.
Senator Jackson.
Well, I wasn't planning to announce it here at the festival, but I'm announcing our intention to acquire Rice University in the UNT system. No, really, I gave a talk to 300 of our administrative employees last year. We consolidated purchasing, payroll, computer operations from our Denton, Fort Worth, Dallas operations, and we talked a lot about metrics and efficiency and cost per student and setting service level agreements and measuring what we do in ways that's never been done before. But I told them, really, the goal for me is to have other universities come and kick the tires and look at our services that we provide to our 3 campuses and ask if they can buy services on a contract from us. That I think the future in higher education is not going to be mergers for academic change. It's going to be because of the incredible cost of supporting the computer platforms that are actually required for large organizations. For us to upgrade our PeopleSoft finance and student service modules, it's a $10, $15, $20 million decision for each module that has to be spread across our system. And we can't keep doing that inevitably. So, lady and gentlemen, when y'all are ready, just come and see us for a bid. We're going to try to have services that make it value added. I mean, we think we have a very good legal staff, audit staff, and so forth, but in this area, this is going to become, as it is for many organizations, really critical that you don't spend money, as Chancellor Sharp was saying, on the back office that ought to be in the classroom and the laboratory.
Chancellor Couture, could you wrap us up?
Sure. It's not really about systems or institutions. It should not be about institutions. We should be thinking, is any region's needs being met? And then if it takes 1 of us, 2 of us, 3 of us, it takes online, it takes whatever mechanism it takes to reach out, to serve that student, to keep Texas globally competitive, that's our obligation. So I think the rephrasing is, what are the pockets within the state that are underserved right now? And if there are any pockets that are underserved, then it becomes part of all 6 of us to see what's the best way to go and serve that region. So I'll again go back and put the student at the center of this discussion.
All right, well, thank you very much to all 6 of you, and now we'll take some questions.